What's up, people? Back in Virginia, and we're gonna hop right into it right now. I'm Oliver Perry. This is the Oliver Perry Show. This is the mission to go from 0 to 625 doors, and I want to take you guys with me. Let's hop into this ride. All right. So, first things first. Let's hop into the area known as Portsmouth, Virginia. So, pull this up. Oh, that's the analysis. Here we go. So, Portsmouth, Virginia. As you can see, you got quite a bit of city in Portsmouth, Virginia. There's not a lot of parks. There's not a lot, not parks, but there's not a lot of trees. There is a park, as you can see here, Portsmouth City Park. But as far as the rural living, this is not the place for you if you're looking for somewhere to live in a rural kind of setting or a deeper suburban setting. This is more of a city area than it is either one of those. So as you can see, you've got Old Dominion University up here. Not Old Dominion, it's not up there, but it's on this side, sorry. You got the Naval Supply Center. Oddly enough, you have the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. It's just sitting right here. Now, what's interesting is, of course, they work up and down this particular area, but this is where the actual base itself is, according to the map. So you got the golf course, you got Paradise Park, and you got Portsmouth City Park as well, as you could see a second ago. Now, the great thing about Portsmouth is it's kind of central to a lot of the other cities that you can get to. If you want to go out and do some hunting and camping and all that other stuff, Suffolk is out in this area. If you want to go to kind of the suburban lifestyle, you can hang out here in Chesapeake, of course. If you want to hit the beach, you've got about 20, maybe 30-minute drive out to Virginia Beach, this area here, as you can see. Now, of course, if you go up, you could also see, like it says, right here in Norfolk, you've got Old Dominion. If you go across the bridge, Hampton University's up in here somewhere. And then, of course, you got Newport News sitting up there, which we'll get to those two a little bit later. So, Portsmouth, as you can see, is not super huge, but it is a part of the 7 cities nonetheless. So let's get into what we found on the analysis. So in the analysis, as you can see, it is a 94,000 population. You've got about 51,000 as far as income, and then 169,000 as far as the median value, as you can see here. The percentage of renters is up. There are a few things that bother me that we'll get to when it comes to Portsmouth itself a little bit later. But for now, we're going to stick with this, and we're going to go into the renters part, which is interesting to me as well. So again, as you can see in this particular area, it's the same thing that we saw with Chesapeake and that we saw with Suffolk. Maybe not so much Suffolk, but more Chesapeake. So you have the 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms are the 2 highest. And we can go back to Chesapeake real quick. Chesapeake, it was 2 and 3 bedroom. Let's look at Suffolk. Suffolk was the 2 and 3 bedroom. I think this might be a busted Suffolk analysis, but that's not the right one. But so we'll scratch that. But as you can see, it's Chesapeake, and Chesapeake has the same kind of 2 and 3 when it comes to the apartments for this particular area. What's interesting, like I said, with it being 2 and 3 for all the places that I've looked at for the most part, and I've looked at some before doing this analysis, and they're all for the most part around the 2 or 3 range when it comes to rooms inside a place that you're renting. Don't know what it is. My guess is people aren't renting a place like that if they have more than 3 people in the family: mom, dad, child, mom and mom, dad and child, the 2 spouses and a child, whatever that might be, or even a dog or whatever it is. They don't seem to go over 3 when it comes to the rental. It seems to drop relatively heavy when it comes to the 3, when it comes to 3 and when it comes to 4, 5, and so on and so forth. So you get good in 1, 2's not bad, 3's not bad, but when it hits a studio apartment, or if it hits 4 or 5, then you might as well, really, to be truly honest, you might as well be looking at the house. It just is what it is. Okay, so let's get back into it. So population trend is down. This is not good for what we're after. If we're looking to find somewhere for people to rent, particularly when it comes to multifamily properties, like we said, 2, 3 bedroom, 2, 3 doors, that kind of thing, it's not good that the population is going downward. My guess is people are moving out of Portsmouth and into somewhere like Virginia Beach or to Chesapeake, or even out at this point to Suffolk, because Suffolk is up relatively higher when it comes to the others. So who knows? So dominant sex, of course, is female, which seems to be a running theme in this particular area. You've got the median age at 36. 36.7. Let's look at what the median age with Chesapeake was. 37. So a little bit younger than Chesapeake, and I think quite a bit younger than Suffolk, if I remember correctly, which isn't bad. It's neither here nor there. I imagine it might be a younger crowd in Portsmouth as well anyway, because of the area that it's in. If it's more orientated towards the city lifestyle, you don't have a lot of families that want to live in the city. They want to have backyards. They want to be able to play, have their kids be able to play. A lot of events around that area that are centered towards family. Not that that's not the case in Portsmouth. It's just easier, I'm sure, for people to do things like have a soccer camp and it's outside of the city as opposed to inside the city, unless you're doing something like indoor soccer, things like that. So even then, the space, as you could see with Portsmouth, is finite when it comes to the, kind of greenish areas. So as you can see, and then on top of that, why would you, if you've got somewhere like Suffolk sitting right over here to the corner, or Chesapeake directly underneath it, or even as you start going towards Virginia Beach, you still got some areas that have some space. So let's get back into the analysis. So as you can see, it's the same kind of thought process when it comes to the movement. Outside of Suffolk, it looks like everything is going to be somewhere between 10 to 24 minutes as far as a drive to be expected. Again, my thought process is that this has to do kind of heavily with the military bases that are in the area. And we'll get to that here in a second. They're not on the, it wasn't actually one of the larger driving forces in the area. And we'll talk about that here in a bit. But like I said, you want to have something between the 10 to 30 minute drive, 10 to 24 minute drive, 10 to 25 minutes, 4 minutes for someone to get from home to work and back. That seems to be the average commute. So it doesn't seem anything out of the ordinary. I'd assume in Portsmouth, being as central as it is, to have a kind of mid-range number as opposed to Suffolk, as Suffolk's sitting so far out to the side, it's 30, 40 minutes to get somewhere as you're driving up and down 64, 264, and Route 68, that kind of thing. So let's see here. So looking at the industry and the employers in the industry, I could not find the exact number for the workforce. Now, I'll probably go back and look at that a little bit deeper, but I wanted to get this out with you guys today so you'd be able to see it, even though I'm not really on a specific timeline, at least right now. It is something that I think is important to have that actual number. But for now, I want to give you the percentages. So when it came to percentages, the highest percentage was healthcare. Next, of course, is transportation equipment. Now, I don't know if that means transportation of equipment, if they're taking a tractor, not a tractor trailer, but a forklift from point A to point B in a truck, as opposed to just a truck going from point A to point B. And the difference is, with that vehicle, it actually being something that's transporting something, as opposed to it just going to that location to pick something up and leaving out. And I don't know quite how that works. So, I don't know if that's differentiated by trucking versus transportation equipment, or what that is. So we'll take that with a grain of salt. Educational services, of course, you got quite a bit of schools in the Hampton Roads area. That's not really a surprise. Construction, you've got the construction. Again, construction seems to be one that we see more often. For the personnel, for those that were living in Chesapeake. No. Okay, so Chesapeake didn't have that, but I remember we had that hefty when it came to Suffolk, with people who were actually living in Suffolk. I think that was number 2, if I remember correctly. We'll go back to the video and check that video out another time, but make sure you go check a look at that, because construction was heavier in Suffolk than it is here in Portsmouth, as you can see. Now, something to note that was very, very, very important when it comes to the crime rate in Portsmouth, Virginia. This one, I wasn't necessarily surprised, but it kind of did bother me. It kind of hurt. So we'll go to that. The crime rate in Portsmouth, Virginia is up higher than the U.S. average. And I made a note, it's over double the average. It's a lot. And I'll show you guys here the graph here really quickly. So best places, Portsmouth. Let's go to city data. Citydata.com. Portsmouth, Virginia. So as you can see, Portsmouth hit the population, easy peasy. Let's go down here a little bit to the crime rate. So scroll. I might have passed it. No, we didn't pass it. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so you see the crime rate. So we're gonna go crime data index. Now this is since 2019. There is a site that does 2020, but I like the one that says 2019 only because I can see everything. And then I'll go in 2019. Once we get a little bit more in detail, then we'll look at 2020 and see the differences with 2020 versus 2019 after we pick a specific area in the Hampton Roads area. So as you can see here, you've got the normal US average is under 250, but above 500 as far as 2019 is concerned. Now, Portsmouth did take a slight drop down in 2016, it looks like, but it didn't. It just leveled out in 2017, 2018, and kicked back up in 2019. Based on the whole COVID pandemic thing, I'm gonna guess, take a wild guess, and assume in 2020 and 2021, it didn't go back down. It just kept on going up. So that is something that I was a little concerned about when I looked at it, as far as it being for someone who's getting into the multifamily world. Not that it's my first time in the foray necessarily, but this will be the first time I do a smaller multifamily as opposed to large. And I wouldn't want to go somewhere where I'm immediately inviting that issue. Now, I do want to buy back the block at some point in my career, but I think I need to have a more solid foundation to be able to tackle that, as well as grow that conversation with others in the real estate industry and talk to them about that. Kind of the biggest locations nearby, of course, are Norfolk, Raleigh, and Philadelphia. Now, you'll see that I kind of changed the numbers when it came to these, or changed the location when it came to these. I didn't want to have the